let's slow down for a second. Not in a dramatic way, not in a, now everyone close your eyes way. Just slow down. Wherever you are right now, driving, walking, sitting, lying awake, you don't need to change anything. Just notice you're here. Because prayer actually starts there. Not with words, not with effort, but with awareness. And I know, even saying that can sound a little intimidating. So let me say it clearly. You don't need to feel spiritual to listen to this. You don't need to agree with everything. You don't even need to know how to pray well. If prayer has felt confusing, thin, frustrating, you're in the right place. This is not about fixing your prayer life. It's about remembering what prayer was meant to be. And that brings me to something that caught me off guard recently. And no, it doesn't involve me suddenly becoming a spiritual superhero overnight. I should probably tell you this part too. I've been thinking about a prayer shawl for a while. Not in a dramatic way, more like one of those quiet thoughts that keep circling back. I'd come across the idea before, read about it, and felt drawn to the symbolism. But I kept putting it off. It felt unnecessary, or maybe indulgent, like something extra for people who were more spiritual than me. So I sat with the idea for a very long time. And then, without me asking, one was given to me. Not because I hinted, not because I mentioned it, just given. And the timing mattered. Because it felt like confirmation, not coincidence. When I held it, I realized this wasn't about acquiring something. It was about acknowledging something. I wrapped it around my shoulders and immediately I slowed down. Not because I told myself to. My body just responded. My shoulders dropped. My breathing changed. And that's when the uncomfortable honesty surfaced. I pray often, but I pray fast. I could pray and scroll my emails at the same time. I'm not saying multitasking is a spiritual gift, but it's a gift I seem to have mastered. I pray while moving, while multitasking, while already thinking about what's next. And again, that's not wrong. But standing there, wrapped in something I've been quietly considering for a long time, I realized something. Prayer has become thin. Not insincere or faithless, just light. And that moment didn't make me want to pray more. It made me want to pray differently. And here's the interesting part. The experience was so moving, so grounding, that it didn't stay with just me. I ended up giving a prayer shawl to someone else later. Not to show off, not as a gesture of, look at the spiritual experience, but as an invitation, a quiet reminder that prayer can be tangible, weighted, real. To share the gift felt like prayer itself multiplying, the sacred passing from one person to another. And that, more than anything, reminded me, prayer is never meant to stay contained. It's meant to ripple outward. Because here's the thing, if prayer can change the way one person moves through the world, then it also reshapes communities. And maybe you felt this too, that prayer should feel more alive, more real, more sacred. Most of us didn't choose this. We learned prayer early, before we knew how to articulate doubt or grief or longing. We learned the posture, the tone, the timing. And repetition can be beautiful, until repetition replaces attention. At some point, prayer became automatic and then quietly transactional. If I pray, maybe this will work out. And when it doesn't, we repeat the prayer or give up. Or we wonder what we did wrong. And let's talk about language for a second, because prayer has its own accent. Lord, we just ask that you would just, and then you fill in the blank. You know it, you've used it, I've used it. Sometimes prayer starts sounding less like conversation and more like a script we didn't agree to. And here's the harder part. Sometimes we use prayer to avoid things. We pray instead of having hard conversations. We pray instead of taking responsibility. We pray instead of acting. Not because we're bad, but because thin prayer feels safer than real prayer. And Jesus sees this, which is why he doesn't say, pray more. He says something entirely different. Jesus didn't criticize prayer, he reframes it. Jesus says, when you pray, not if, but when. Prayer is assumed. But he says something that should make us uncomfortable. In Matthew 6 verse 5, he says, don't do this to be seen. That hits closer than we like. Even private prayer can be a performance. We perform for ourselves. In verse 6, Jesus says, go into your room, close the door, which isn't about location. It's about attention. And then in the same chapter, he gives us the Lord's Prayer. And this is where it really gets interesting. The Lord's Prayer isn't just a memorized set of words. It's a blueprint for sacred prayer. So let's take it piece by piece, conversationally, not academically. I promise there won't be a quiz at the end. Our Father in heaven. Prayer starts relational, not distant, not abstract. God is near, inviting intimacy. This is a reminder that prayer isn't about technique. It's about connection. Hallowed be your name. This is reverence, acknowledging God's sacredness. Because prayer begins with humility, not with a shopping list of requests. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. This is alignment. Prayer isn't for bending God's will. It's for bending ours towards what's holy, just, and life-giving. Give us today our daily bread. This is dependence. We ask for what we need, no more than we need. Prayer is about trust, not control. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Reconciliation and humility. Prayer reshapes our hearts towards mercy before it reshapes our circumstances. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. This is awareness. Prayer isn't a shield from life, but a call to see clearly, to walk carefully, to be guided in the tension between our desires and God's guidance. Every line in the Lord's Prayer is practice in sacred living. It's a mini lesson in slowing down, surrendering, and reorientating ourselves. It's not about repeating it perfectly. It's about letting it sink in, let it shape us, let it flow out into the world. Because theology is only helpful if it changes how we live. What if prayer isn't about saying more? What if it's about staying present longer? What if silence counts? Psalm 46 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Stillness isn't passive, it's vulnerable. Silence exposes what noise hides. And that's why we avoid it. Because thin prayer lets us stay in control, while sacred prayer asks us to let go. And sometimes prayer doesn't change anything. Sometimes it changes us, which is actually harder. Paul reminds us, pray without ceasing. Romans 8 teaches us that even wordless groans are heard. Philippians 4 encourages us to bring anxiety to God. And James 5 shows that honest, righteous prayer is powerful. When people pray this way, communities change. And remember, sometimes that ripple starts with giving, not receiving. Like a prayer shawl passing from one person to another, reminding both giver and receiver that prayer is tangible, sacred, and alive. Imagine prayer that leads to forgiveness, to courage, to action. Prayer that reshapes people into who God can work through. James 5 verse 16 says the prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. Not because it's eloquent, but because it's aligned. So, may you slow down. May prayer feel less pressured. May silence stop feeling awkward. May you stop performing and start being present. And may prayer feel sacred again. Not because you did it right, but because God met you there. And maybe it inspires you to pass it on, to gift the sacred, the tangible, the prayerful to someone else in your life. Thank you for listening. Really, if something stirred, don't rush to fix it. Sit with it. Prayer isn't going anywhere. Grace is patient. Until next time, may the sacred find you in ordinary moments. God bless.